Hi everybody, welcome back to Sunshine Soap and Candle Company. Now before we get started today, I just thought I would mention in Northern California today and for the last week or so, we have been experiencing a massive heat wave with temperatures up into the 112, 113 degree range for the last several days. So you're going to hear some background noise today, like my fans and my ice maker and everything running. So I do apologize for the background noise, but we are doing everything we can to keep our workspace and our house comfortable and cool. Today I'm going to be sharing with you how to make a foaming hand soap, the type that you use in a foamer bottle. Now we're going to be making actual liquid soap today from scratch. We're not going to be making a surfactant based product today. So this is a more natural product and can be actually all natural if you decide to use essential oils instead of fragrance oils in your product. I've been having so much fun with this formula and customizing my scents and essential oils. It's just a great formula. It's got a lovely emolliency and lots of skin loving oils, which you're able to do with a soap from scratch. And it's something you can't really do in a detergent or surfactant based hand wash. Also, we're able to add a little bit more fragrance, so if you're somebody that likes a stronger smelling soap, this is a good formula for you as well. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you a step-by-step visual process and tutorial of how to make this foaming hand soap, and if you want the full written recipe and the full written step-by-step tutorial, including percentages and links to where you can buy all the materials needed for this project, please head on over to my Patreon campaign. This will be considered July's bonus recipe, so they will be available at the $7 level. And if you haven't had a chance to come check out the Patreon campaign, I'll go ahead and put the link in the description box below for you. I really hope that you'll check it out. There's a ton to take advantage of over there. Just at the $5 level, there are hundreds of formulas and tutorials for you to take advantage of. We have a library that dates back for 5 years, so there are 5 years worth of weekly formulas and tutorials, and there's just a ton to take advantage of. It's a great way to connect with me and other makers. You can chat with other community members over there, so it's a great way to connect with the community. And we also have other tiers for you to take a look at besides the $5 tier, with each their own unique benefit. So we offer things like live quarterly classes, monthly gift packages, coupon codes to my favorite suppliers, and so much more. So I hope that you'll check it out. Come see what thousands of other makers have come to love about my campaign. Again, the link to my campaign is in the description box below. All right, let's get started. All right, before we get started, it's important to note that you want to wear some gloves, long sleeves, you want to wear protective eyewear, closed-toed shoes, and long pants to protect your skin and your eyes from the potassium hydroxide, which is a form of lye, and you must use it in liquid soap making, at least the type of liquid soap making that I'm making today. We're going to be using potassium hydroxide lye. That's what turns the oils into actual soap. So make sure you don't skip this step. The first thing we're going to do is warm up our oils and butters. Now I've already previously measured this out. We're going to be using a crock pot, but I'm going to pre-warm this up in my microwave first. So this is a combination of coconut oil, castor oil, sunflower oil, and sweet almond oil, and also cocoa butter. So the reason why we're using coconut oil, there's a high amount of coconut oil in here. Coconut oil is a very cleansing oil, and it also offers a really good foam and lather, big bubbles, which is something that's important to a foaming hand soap. At least in my opinion, you like the foaming hand soap to be kind of fluffy and very bubbly and foamy. And then the castor oil is also going to help with the bubbles in the lather. It's going to boost the foam, it's going to give us bigger bubbles, and it's conditioning feeling. And then we're going to be using sunflower oil today because it's very emollient. It's high in linoleic acid, so it feels very conditioning on the skin in this type of formula, which is good for frequent hand washing. And then we're using sweet almond oil and also some cocoa butter just for its hydration. The sweet almond oil is going to be similar to the sunflower oil. It's going to give it a nice conditioning kind of emollient feeling. So we're going to go ahead and pre-warm this up in the microwave for a few minutes and then get that cocoa butter melted down, and then I'm going to be adding it to a crock pot. All right, so my oils and butter are sitting at about 152 degrees. 150 is a pretty good range here we're going to be putting it in. It can be hotter than that. In fact, once it goes into the crock pot, it is going to get a little bit hotter than that, and that's okay. We don't want it too hot. I'll read the temperature before we get going with the, before we add the potassium hydroxide and lye and water solution. I'll go ahead and read the temperature on the oils so you can see exactly what temperature I'm adding things together. The problem with it being too hot is you can cause it to kind of expand and come up over the top of the crock pot. But if it's too low in temperature, it can also just take a really long time to trace, and also a long time to cook off the excess lye. Okay, so now that everything is added, my crock pot's on high. I was just pre-warming it. What I'm going to do is go ahead and turn it to low. For the time being, I'm going to just move this off to the side, and then we're going to prepare the lye and water solution. So I already have my distilled water pre-measured off into this container, and it's important to use distilled water here. You don't want to use tap water or water with any minerals in it, because you could be introducing bacteria if you're using tap water, and also the minerals and such in tap water or water that's not distilled can cause this type of formula to go cloudy and not be like a crystal clear formula. So I'm going to go ahead and add in a couple teaspoons here of granulated white sugar, and again we're going for a high foaming formula, so sugar can help to create more bubbles and lather in your soap. I'm just dissolving it in my water before we get going adding in the lye. Okay, now that that's all dissolved, we're going to go ahead and add in the potassium hydroxide. So in liquid soap making, you usually use more water than you would in a cold process soap formula. So this is why I'm using a bigger pitcher today, and we're going to go ahead and add in the potassium hydroxide. So the chemical process of adding your lye and water solution to the oils and fats is what makes soap soap. If it's made without lye, it's not actually considered soap. It's considered a detergent or a surfactant-based. Now, as I stir, you may hear a whooshing sound if the camera picks it up. And that is what happens when you mix in potassium hydroxide with water. It just makes a very cool whooshing sound right at first. So we're just going to give this a good stir. You want to make sure you're in a well ventilated area as well. And then we're just going to set this aside for a minute to come a little bit down in temperature, and also to just totally dissolve. So when that solution is clear, we'll be ready to add it in. Okay, so we're now ready to go ahead and add our lye and water solution to our oils and fats. The water and lye solution is sitting at 150 degrees Fahrenheit, and the oils are at 175 degrees Fahrenheit. We're going to go ahead and add this in slowly and stir by hand first. You're going to see right away it starts to emulsify and combine. And this is the beginning of the soap making process right here. As you can see, we've got some good bubbles already forming in there. I'm just going to give this a stir by hand. And then I'm going to get my immersion blender. So this formula too, like I said in the beginning, is great for someone who may be a little bit intimidated by this sort of formula or soap making process, or someone who maybe has tried it before and failed, or is a beginner, because this is going to come to trace fairly quickly. That's another reason why we like to use coconut oil in the formula, because it traces quickly, and so it takes a lot of the confusion out of it. And also coconut oil is going to create a naturally thin formula that you can't really thicken up, which we definitely want a thin formula that can go through a foam or bottle type container. So I'm turning my stick blender on low, and I'm just going to stick blend this until it reaches a thick trace, and I'll show you what that looks like. I'm just pulsing my stick blender around. So right now we're just basically a little bit beyond that emulsification stage, very thin. We haven't reached trace yet, so I'll continue to stick blend, and then I'll bring you back when it looks the way that it looks for the next phase. Alright, so I was stick blending and pulsing for 4 minutes, so that's what that took. I did turn my stick blender up to medium and high as the mixture thickened. So at first it was just a low pulse while the formula was real thin, so I didn't splatter any of the soap around. And then as it thickened, I kind of increased the speed to medium and then high. And this took about 4 minutes of stick blending and pulsing the stick blender around. So as you can see, we've reached a thick trace. So what I do now, I like to give the stick blender a break and just kind of give this a little bit of a hand stir. Then I pop the lid on. I'm going to take the temperature again for you so you can see. It's sitting at 165 degrees, which is just perfect. My crock pot is still on low. What I'm going to do is go ahead, pop the lid onto this, and I'm going to set a 5-minute timer. In 5 minutes, this should be so thick that I can't put my stick blender back in it. So I'll bring you right back after 5 minutes to show you what that looks like. Alright, so it's been exactly 5 minutes. We're going to go ahead and check this. As you can see, it has turned into a more solid, thick state. This is way too thick to get my stick blender in. It's a thick paste. So use a stiff spatula here. Just kind of give it a little bit of a stir. If you haven't achieved this consistency after 5 minutes of the lid on with your crock pot on low, go ahead and put the crock pot on high and give it another 2 minutes or so, and then check it again. So I'm just gonna spread this out along the bottom of the crock pot here, and this is what we call a soap paste. So this paste obviously is not liquid soap yet. This paste, in order to neutralize and to cook off the excess lye, it has to cook in the crock pot for 3 hours. So we're going to go ahead and place the lid on this paste, and then I'm going to allow this to cook for 3 hours. Alright, so after your soap paste has cooked for 3 hours, mine is still cooking, but this is from a prior batch that I made. This is how your soap paste will look. This is not the same amount. I've been drawing off this paste to make the liquid soap, so this is a smaller bit of the paste from a prior batch. But when you are all done cooking your soap for 3 hours, this is what your paste will look like. For this formula, it's a beautiful golden amber colored paste. It's a bit translucent in certain areas, and you can indefinitely store this paste. This is a concentrated soap paste in the refrigerator. Just make sure you date it, but it should last indefinitely actually. So this is the paste after you've cooked it for 3 hours, and the next phase is to dilute this down with distilled water until you have a liquid soap. So we're gonna go ahead and do that right now. So usually I like to dilute my soap paste into the crock pot, but since my crock pot is occupied cooking up some of the soap paste that we just made, I'm just gonna show you how to dilute it. So what I usually do is weigh off how much soap paste I have. So, but I'm gonna put this into smaller chunks. It dilutes easier when it's in smaller chunks. And usually I do it in the crock pot because it dissolves quicker when it's hot. So I'm just gonna go ahead and break up the soap paste. I'm gonna dilute, let's see, how much do I wanna do here? I may not dilute all of it just because I don't have a ton of space. So let's see, maybe we'll just do a couple pounds of soap paste. I probably have about a couple pounds here. Okay, so here's about 2 pounds of soap paste. I have a little bit left over here that I think I'm just gonna place back into my plastic bag to save for another time. All right, so my soap paste is now ready to dilute, and the amount of water that you put over your soap paste is pretty flexible. You need enough water to completely dissolve down the soap paste. So if you don't add enough water, you could end up with just a big goopy kind of sticky mess, and you need to add more water. So this particular formula, you can start with a 1-to-1 ratio. So 2 pounds of soap paste to 2 pounds water. And that makes a very concentrated soap stock. You really don't need it that concentrated, but if you can if you want. I like to dilute it down a little bit more. So I like a 1 to 1.5 ratio. So 1 part soap paste to 1.5 parts water. So we're doing 2 pounds of soap paste here. So we're gonna be using 3 pounds of hot water. This is almost boiling water. Now, usually, again, I do this in the crock pot, but we're just gonna dilute this. You don't have to do it in the crock pot. You can do it the way that I'm doing it, showing you here. But the hot water and the warm crock pot tend to help this dissolve a little bit quicker. And another reason why I like a 1 to 1.5 ratio is because, as you can see, you need it to completely cover the soap paste. Let me just get rid of these bubbles here, a little rubbing alcohol so you can see what I'm looking at. So the water at a 1-to-1 ratio barely covers up the soap paste, and you need your water to go at least, you know, over the top of it completely. So we're just gonna allow this to sit and dissolve. This could take a really long time, up to several hours to up to overnight, especially if we're not heating it. So I'm gonna set this aside and allow it to dilute. And I have a pre-diluted batch, so I can show you what it looks like when it's all done. So this is what it looks like when it's completely dilute. So you have a beautiful crystal clear, amber colored liquid foaming soap. As you can see, it's ultra thin because of the high coconut oil content. Even if you added thickener to this, if you didn't want to use it in a foamer bottle and you wanted to thicken it up more like a traditional hand soap formula, this will never get to a consistency like that because of the high coconut oil content. So this again is a perfect recipe to use in your foamer bottles. So next I'm going to show you how to portion off just enough to make 1 bottle of foaming hand soap and then customize the scent to what you like. You don't have to scent the whole thing. You can literally just portion off bits of this. You can save your soap stock. So after this is all diluted, you can save your soap stock pretty indefinitely and just portion off bits of your liquid soap if you want to into 1 container at a time, or you can make a big batch into lots of containers. But it's kind of fun to portion it off and experiment with different scents, so I'm going to show you that right now. All right, so I want to use this cute glass foaming bottle for this little batch of soap here. And so it holds 344 grams of liquid. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and portion off 344 grams of my soap stock. All right, so here's our 344 grams. And I'm not going to add any color to this because, as you can see, it's got a beautiful kind of golden amber looking color, and any kind of liquid soap dye that I add to this, you certainly can add liquid soap dye to this, but anything you add to this color wise is going to compete with the color that this already is. So it's not going to be, you know, if you put in a purple and it mixes with this color, you're going to get a weird color, or if you mix a blue in with this, you're going to get a green. So we're just going to leave it alone. I think it's a beautiful color as is in its natural state. So what I'm going to do now is go ahead and add in some fragrance oil. Now I'm adding in a little bit more fragrance oil than I would in a surfactant-based system because it can handle it. And I look kind of like a stronger smelling hand soap. This is Blueberry Thyme by Brambleberry. It's a gorgeous summertime fragrance. I really, really like it. So we're going to go ahead and add this in. It's just bright. It's got the brightness from the thyme and the sweetness from the blueberries, the tartness. It's just gorgeous. Okay. Now you're probably going to notice most fragrance oils will cause a natural soap stock like this to go cloudy right away. So you may notice that. So as we combine it, as you can see, it goes cloudy. So sometimes they don't go back to a clear state. Sometimes they stay cloudy like this indefinitely. That's just the nature of using fragrance oils and essential oils. One of the reasons we used castor oil for its bubbling and foaming properties, but also it helps the clarity on a liquid soap like this. So we're going to give this is going to smell really good. We're going to give this a chance to just kind of marry and blend together and sequester a little bit, and it should turn totally clear. So I don't have, this is not in a clear container, but you can see that my formula is very clear. So I guess what I can do is just move this formula into here so you can see how clear it is. This one was made with the fragrance Camellia Sugar, also by Brambleberry. This is a gorgeous, gorgeous fragrance. Really nice in a hand soap, but I want to show you what it looks like in the clear container. I have two of these clear containers, so we can put this one in a different one. We're just going to go ahead and transfer this over so you guys can see the clarity after the fragrance oil has been added. This takes about a day to become this crystal clear. Takes about a day, but it does eventually turn. So I'm going to add a little bit more. It does eventually turn into a beautiful and clear formula. So you can see how crystal clear this formula is after it's had a chance to sequester for, this one's been sequestering now for probably a week or so. But after about a day, this is what it looks like. And the foam in the lather continues to get a little bit better over the course of a day or a few days. So with any good foaming hand soap, the type of bottle is super important, and you have to have one with good aerating features. I just tested this one out and I'm not crazy about it. I think it comes out much nicer in this bottle, so I'll be sharing this bottle in my Amazon store for you to take a look at. I'm going to also go ahead and show you a little bit of a use demo using this bottle. All right, here we go. So we're just going to pump a bit of this into my hand. Look at how nicely that just pipes up and pumps into the hand. So this has a bigger sort of aeration system, I think. I don't know, it just seems to be working much better than the other one. But there we've got this beautiful kind of aerated, fluffy bit of soap. And it's just super, super emollient. It's got a gorgeous skin feel. It feels lotion-like and creamy. I'm gonna put a little bit of water in there just to activate the lather. It's very conditioning and moisturizing and cleansing, and it smells super good. So there you have it, everybody. That is how you make a liquid foaming hand soap from scratch. I hope you liked this video. If you did, please remember to give it a thumbs up. Please leave me some comments and questions below. That really means a lot to me. Share this video with a friend, and why not subscribe to my channel? All right, everybody. Catch you on the next video. Keep shining. Bye.